I love being able to use my experience to help kids in foster care now. The goal is to lessen the gap. I'm in North Carolina, so we have 10,600 kids in foster care right now and about 5,700 homes. So you can see where the difference in the ratio is here. And I know there's other states that's even a bigger gap ratio. So my goal is to lessen kids coming into foster care.
Welcome back to Finding Common Ground with Heather and Steve. Today we consider what it takes to break a generational cycle. Not just talk about it, not just survive it, but actually break it. Today's guest was the third generation in her family to grow up in foster care. She entered the system at 3 years old and lived in 16 different homes before she aged out. Genevieve became a mom while still in care, and yet still became the first in her family to graduate high school and college. She went on to foster and adopt herself, and today she works inside the foster care system. This kind of story forces us to ask some deeper questions like, what does instability do to a child? What does resilience actually look like? What would it take for systems to stop managing trauma and start preventing them? But we're not going to talk about pity. It's about perspective. It's about cycles, choice, accountability, most of all, hope. So let's get into it. Genevieve, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
You shared that you were a third generation of foster care and that you entered the system at a really young age. Do you remember life before foster care?
That's funny you ask that because lots of times when I share my story, I point out that my first memory ever at 3 years old was the moment that I was taken into the foster care system. So no, I have no memories beforehand, but my first core memory is the one, I always say it's like the men in black showed up at my aunt's house in the projects. And I remember every little detail of that moment.
That's important for people to hear you say that, because I think sometimes there's this misconception that they won't remember this, that it'll be just one other moment. But you're right. In those moments of extreme shifting or changing or trauma, your brain holds every single piece of that. Like just somebody will say, like, if your aunt was making cookies, they're like, every time I smell oatmeal cookies, I think of that moment. And I just, it's amazing because I don't know if I remember being 3, but you remember that moment.
I do.
What would you say to the audience about how foster care, the people that work the foster care system, what they should know when they're entering a home and taking that step? Do you have any advice or?
Yes. So like I said, I remember every detail of that moment. So I took that into account when I became a foster parent and even a parent. So when I was removed by, I say the men in black, because that's what they reminded me of. And I was put in the back of the car. It seemed like a really long ride. And I drove up to this house, and growing up in the projects, to that point, I don't ever remember. That's the first time I remember thinking, wow, like this is a really nice house. Like I saw on TV, like on, Sesame Street. And so what stuck out to me is the woman, the foster mom who opened the door, was so kind and sweet. And she had a popsicle. And she offered me a popsicle. And I remember, oh my goodness, it was like a dream to have food in general because I was always hungry. But I just remember like this was the sweetest treat ever, that popsicle. And the home was so warm. And so I always say when someone comes into foster care, like I always bring them to the pantry first. I always open up and say, this is always open, available to you. It's always stacked with food. I don't care if it's 3 a.m, help yourself to food, because I know what that feels like to be deprived of food. So, but yeah, that stuck out to me. So that's the one thing I took and still do, even with my teenage kids, their friends come over, I'm like, help yourself. And they eat a lot. So I'm always having to restock it, which is why I have a Costco membership. So
Yeah. Totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Genevieve, thanks. I also want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Today. Foster care is my passion. We've done it for so long, and we're on the outside now because our last day was 12/31 this past year, and we still have kids in our home. They're certified with one's still certified with the county. The other two we adopted. But my advocacy now is going to be not so much on the 24/7 day to day. It's more on changing some of the things that are going on in the system. I think that need to be addressed. My question is, when you think about being moved 16 times, what did that teach you about trust as a child?
Oh, yeah. I definitely had and still struggle with trust issues. PTSD is real, and CPTSD is even, I've learned, I actually have complex post-traumatic, and I don't like to label things, but I also like to acknowledge, like Heather was saying, like our memories are so strong with all the senses, and, the body remembers what the brain doesn't. So with trust, even if my body reacts a certain way, like I flinch or I shut down, it's that reaction to trust. I think for me personally, I'm hyper alert and aware, which some people can say I have ADHD, but I'm like, I can notice little details that others don't. And I have found that kids that I have fostered as well are the same way, because you're hyper alert and sensitive to your surroundings. But for trust, my poor husband, he had to deal with a lot of that, because he's like, I don't understand. Have I ever done anything to break your trust? I'm like, no, so it took a while. And even with friendships, I'm very guarded. I have to guard my heart. I like to see the good in everyone. But I think that for someone that grew up in foster care, it's hard to trust people that they want to do the right thing. I didn't grow up thinking that there wasn't something expected of me. I always thought, you are being nice because you want something from me, whether, even those that took advantage of me, my body. So for me, having to relearn that, and my faith helps me with that, because I'm like, okay, I have trust that God will help protect me and guide me. And so I don't know if that answers your question, Steve, because I kind of jumped all over the place.
Yeah, look, Genevieve, it's your story certainly resonates with so many kids that tell us exactly what you're saying after a while. Look, when they come into our house, they're not trusting us. They don't know who we are. Even though they might have been in 15, 20 other houses before me, they don't know who we are. They can wind up at our house just like anybody else. And those trust issues, there's a lot of factors, I think. When you get pulled from a house and you're told certain things, the child immediately thinks they're going back home, because we have a kid in our house that was told he was going back home in 3 days. And he didn't go, and it's 5 years later now. And so the mistrust starts at a very early age, I think in foster care.
Yeah.
And then you get 5 therapists, you get 9 case aides, 7 case managers, and that doesn't make it any better either, because usually they see more abandonment, they see more issues with trusting somebody. If you trust me, why are you leaving? And these are the comments kids have made to us, my wife and I, here when they get here after a while, after we've built up the trust. So
It's true.
kudos for you for speaking up. I can't even imagine how hard it is coming in for a young child into somebody's home that doesn't know us. And we've had kids from all cultures and ethnicities, and we're in rural area, and we're taking kids sometimes in the inner city in here, and they don't. Again, it goes back to the trust. They don't trust us, and it's important that I think as a foster parent that we try and gain their trust. And
Yeah.
I
And
think
sometimes
we've
it
been able
just
to do
takes
that.
time. Like
Right.
you just got to show them over and over and over. See, I'm still
Right.
here. See, I'm not
Right.
going to hurt you. Our last foster son, he had a lot of those issues, and sweet. He was only 7. And he was abused. And so like he would flinch a lot, and I'm like, it's okay. And so he had this little stuffy, and he would hit that stuffy a lot and throw the stuffy and say mean things to it. And I knew that was him projecting, right? He only knew what was taught to him. And I said, why are you, like, I questioned, why are you hurting your stuffy? And he's like, he made me mad. He deserved it. And, stuff like that. And so he ended up like putting the stuffy out and saying, are you going to hurt my stuffy? And we're like, no, why would we ever want to do that? And so we hugged it, and then he hugged it and looked at us and was like, oh my goodness, like, you're not going to hurt me, And so that was like a breakthrough moment. It was so beautiful to see that he knew that we're going to love and support him and not hurt him or his stuffy. Yeah.
I really
it's definitely.
love that.
Yeah.
It makes me think of the difference between an adult that goes through trauma and a child. Like, my husband's a veteran, and I've worked with lots of different veterans, and you see that trauma response, right? When they come back, they saw hard things. They survived hard things, but they have an adult brain, and they know that it can be different than that, right? They have other experiences, or even parents who have kids with really complex needs, and there's trauma just from trying to keep them safe and systems that don't work and that burnout factor. I'm just wondering the resilience piece. Like, what makes some people be able to go through 16 different placements, be a teen mom, and still like somehow graduate high school, graduate college? Like, how does that resilience piece factor in? What do you think?
That's a great question. I was actually thinking about that the other day, going, wow, like, I can't believe I survived that. Like, looking back, it's like a different person, when you're healed. And I'm not saying I'm completely healed, but when you're healing, you look back and you're like, wow, like, and again, as someone who has faith, I feel like God's hand was in all of that. But at the time, that's all growing up and with fight or flight, right? You just think this is the way life is. All you see is abuse. All you see is, I grew up in a city for the first 11 years, and gunshots were the ones that put me to sleep. And when I was moved to a countryside home, like after that, I couldn't sleep because all I heard was crickets, and I was like, "What is going on?" Like, I need the gunshots in the background. So I know that sounds so bizarre, right? But that's what I was used to, and so I don't know if I guess it is resilience, but for me, it was just more like, this is the struggle. Like, jumping into the dumpster is a way that I got to eat. Like, I knew where to go. I knew that I could make a few extra bucks helping at the spring water stand and helping people bring the water to the car. And they'd give me 10 cents or 25 cents. And if I worked a couple hours, I got to get some chips at the store for 25 cents. So, like, for me, it was, even at that young age, it was just like, that's the norm. That's what we have to do to survive. And I know that there was kids that had way worse. There's countries that have it way worse, right? But that's all we know. So, like, if you ask someone that's in poverty in the middle of Africa, they wouldn't know any difference because that's all they have around them. So I feel like more than resilience, it was more, this is just how it is. This is how I have to live, how I have to survive, and learning to fight at a young age. And then that's why I think, too, a lot of the kids that grow up in foster care, more than 60% now end up incarcerated because of just learning to survive, which is stealing, learning to fight, all the things that have you end up in jail. But not thankfully, but for me, getting pregnant at 15 was not ideal to me or the plans I had in life. But it also made me say, okay, I'm going to break the cycle. This is the end. I'm not going to have this child be a fourth generation, which I didn't know. I was third generation at the time, child in foster care. But I said, there has to be more. Like, this child is not going to end up in foster care. I'm going to do everything I can. And after I found out I was pregnant, I walked across the street from Planned Parenthood and got a job at Dunkin' Donuts. Because that's the only place that hired at 15. So I feel like it was, a survival mode more than resilience. It was survival mode.
Yeah. you just sparked a memory for me. I have children that were from my husband's first marriage, and they weren't used to some things that moms do. They just did not think they happened. And I'll never forget, my youngest said to me, I'm tucking her in, I didn't know mommies did this, which said that my husband is an amazing dad and that he took on both roles, right? Like
Yeah.
he was able to do that for the kids. Then it made me sad. And I thought, I have to like help her reimagine what moms can do. And when you used to ask her what she wanted to be when she grew up, she would say, I want to be a mom.
Aww, that's so sweet.
And I know, I think she just like knew how important it could be, you know, even though maybe her earliest experiences weren't consistent and they weren't exactly what she needed. So
Yeah.
I applaud your inner strength,
Oh,
but I have to ask a question.
yeah.
Are you not angry, or how did you let the anger go? Because that has to be infuriating at certain points of your life. I think of a typical teenager and the angst and the anger.
Mhm.
Man, you were going through it all and not having that stability at the same time.
Yeah. So I suppressed a lot growing up. But at 12, I'm not sure if I shared this with you or if you saw that, but at 12, there was something that changed. And that 12 years old is really a crucial age for so many kids, right? It's hard because you're not really a kid anymore, but you're not a teenager and you're in that middle. And I have talked with my social worker. I'm actually still friends with her, but my social worker at the time, she was really new, very young. And she gave me a reality check. And she's like, because I was still holding on to hope. At that point, I was in 12 homes. So that was easy for me to remember because I'm 12 in 12 homes, right? And so she's like, listen, you're older now. And I was like, yeah, but I could still get adopted. And she's like, the chances of you being adopted you're considered really unadoptable at your age. And I'm like, what? And so she's like, yeah, it's hard because a lot of kids get adopted when they're younger. And so she just wanted to give me a reality check. She wasn't trying to hurt my feelings, but at 12, I'm all the confusion, the hope was gone. Like, I was like, why am I even trying anymore? And so I just remember everything again, all the senses, the crispy leaves under my feet, the cool air, even though I was hot and angry, and I was like, okay, I'm done trying. And so I got my first jail tattoo. I stopped trying in sports, even though I was still in sports. I stopped trying in school. I was always really good at school, but I stopped trying. I started doing drugs and searching for love in the wrong places, and all the things. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to let my guard down, because if I'm not going to be adopted, why am I trying so hard? So that anger built and built. I got suspended a few times for fighting in school, holes in my walls, lots of things. I mean, it was to the point that I was fighting and I didn't care if I was stabbed, I was beat. Like, it was bad. It was so bad. Most people don't even know until I was hospitalized for the things. And then one of the hospitalizations is how people found out I was pregnant, even though I knew. And again, that hospitalization when I was pregnant wasn't because I was angry and searching. That was because I was abused by an older person that was taking advantage of me. And so when I was able to remove myself, and I still deal with anger in that way, but looking at that baby, my son, I realized he's going to reflect my face, because I took so many parenting classes, so many, because I was like, I need to learn how to do this parenting thing. I didn't grow up. Like, the closest I had to knowing what parenting was watching telenovelas with, all my Puerto Rican friends and Lawrence. So like, I'm like, I don't know what it's supposed to look like. Yeah, Sesame Street's great, like, but I can't have a puppet as the parent, so like, how am I going to do this? So I did all the parenting classes, and they said, I remember very clearly, like, your baby's face reflects your face. So, they try to mimic you. And I was like, oh, okay. So I try to smile and do the ooh. So I think he taught me, we grew up together, right? So having that and learning that, helped me release that anger and channel it differently. I love to write. Like I said, I hope my book gets published one day. Maybe a publisher will listen to this one day. But writing was and still is definitely an outlet. I had a foster mom that actually was upset that I wrote a lot, and she ended up ripping my book in front of my face, and it had all my numbers. Back then, we didn't have cell phones that had all the numbers. We had the book, right? So ripped it all up and threw it in the trash, and that was an awful moment. But that can stir up anger thinking about that too. But yes, I think that just the more I heal, the more I understand that anger is not going to get me anywhere, but I can change it. I can spin it. I can have a new perspective of it. Okay, what am I going to do with that anger? I can channel it and help other kids in foster care through my work, through when I fostered, all that. So advocating what we're doing now, right? Sorry, that was a whole I rabbit trail. And
Yeah, it was beautiful, really. It said so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Steve, because you've had so many kids come through your home, and I know that what she's talking about has to resonate with you. I can see bits and pieces when I worked as a school psychologist, but I mean, what's standing out to you right now, Steve? You're so strong. That's what I keep thinking. But people say that about me too, and I don't always feel strong.
Right.
Every child is basically that's come through our home has said similar stuff to you as you just did, Genevieve. The issues, the complexities in the systems, your voice isn't being heard, and people who are responsible for taking care of you aren't, and in fact probably causing even more issues. And it resonates so much with me. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about trying to fix all of this, and that fix isn't probably the right word. I want to tip the apple cart over because the same thing that you're talking about is still going on. And it's telling. And we're in New York, and I think I've told you this before. The federal statute is 15 to 22 months in foster care, unless you have a really good excuse. Well, there's kids in my house that were in care almost 14 years, and we've robbed them of their youth. And they haven't been in the whole 14 years with us because that's how volatile the system is. They've been in a whole bunch of houses until they came here,
Right.
and then we stabilized it. But the damage a lot of it was already done, and then years go by, and they blame the courts, they blame this, they blame that, and none of them looking inwards. And I know you work for a foster care agency and you're involved in that part of it professionally, but I think everybody's responsible for this and why this is still going on. And it tells me that something has to be done. And Heather and I are involved in several projects that are coming. One's called worthdoing.org, which is going to kind of be solution-based. And it's a nonprofit out of D.C., and it's with an international film producer.
That's amazing.
Who's going to be telling stories of specific solutions. One of the things I talked to him about last week was doing something on the foster care side of putting some people across the United States together that have lived experience, have knowledge of the foster care system, have that understand that so many kids with foster care have actual disabilities now too, whether it could be autism, but it also could be mental health issues. PTSD, like you're saying. And we'd be interested in talking to you about helping us with something like that down the road.
Absolutely.
Because the answer is not to do nothing. And we can Heather and I can do podcasts all day long about this subject. Heather's not even aware how many people I've been talking to on the foster care that want to come on and talk on a podcast. But we also have to have a solution base off of that too. And besides the education part of it that we're doing right now and speaking up and talking about it, which is half the battle, but we also have to find a way to fix it. And so, that's my 2 cents with it. I can match all your stories probably tenfold because of how many kids have been through here, but it resonates with me. But more importantly, it resonates in the fact that forever, however long I have on this earth, I want to instill in my kids here, especially my daughter, who looks like she's going to become an advocate down the road, to step up, try and change some of this for the better. Kudos for you speaking with us today. And Heather, I don't know if you have, I'm sure we have some other questions that have to be.
Yeah.
asked.
I would love to know, I want our audience to know what you're up to now. I mean, we've really focused on the beginning of your story, and we know you're resilient. We know you pushed through, but what does life look like for you now? What are you doing that you're being invited, to be a keynote speaker, that you're working on a book? Like, tell us about now.
I am at a place now I would have never dreamed I could be. Even in a healthy marriage with healthy, beautiful children, like it is. I was just thinking that this morning on my drive after I dropped my daughter off at school. I'm like, wow, like this is the life I prayed for. This is like, and I'm not saying, oh my goodness, everything's so great, because no, there's so many issues, but just to not, I really thought I wouldn't make it this far in life. I didn't think I would live this long. And I told people that I didn't think I'd make it to 40. So just being alive is like huge for me. But where I'm at now, so work-wise, I work full-time for an agency. It's a nonprofit, and my main job is to go around and speak at events and share about foster care. I help people become foster parents. So I do the initial vetting. I go in their house, do the inspections, which again brings a different perspective, because I'm looking for things that is on the environmental inspection list, but I'm also seeing, okay, is this person like in it for the right reasons? And that's where that trust thing comes in, right? My experience, because I feel like we have a different sense, not a sixth sense, but like a different radar, right? To read people, because we were on the other side. So yeah, I go into their homes, make sure that they're in it for the right reasons, answer all the questions, and get them started with the portal and all that. So that's my full-time job. I also have a side nonprofit called Out of the Box with Genevieve, and that is a gift box for children in foster care. They can receive it once a month, or they can receive it, just different times. We've given out 500 boxes mainly at Christmas and Valentine's. We have an Easter event coming up at the end of March, and they'll be packing their own boxes. So I'll put all the toys and books and gifts out, and they'll pack their own boxes. So I'm excited about that. I do have 5 children and a husband. I have fostered 24 kiddos, adopted 1. I have had about 55 in my care, in and out, like not technically fostered, but taking them, guardianship, all the other things. I do speak at different places. I do write. I'm the president of it's called Word Weavers, and we meet once a month, and lots of amazing authors in there. I have published work in magazines, but not a book. So Focus on the Family has my story that I wrote there. But yeah, so I love being able to use my experience to help kids in foster care now. The goal is to lessen the gap. I'm in North Carolina. So we have 10,600 kids in foster care right now, and about 5,700 homes. So you can see where the difference in the ratio is here. And I know there's other states that's even a bigger gap ratio. So my goal is to lessen kids coming into foster care, by sharing my experience. I love that there's resources for people that are struggling. I feel like we need more of that. And then, let's lessen the homes. If there's adoption on the table, let's not wait 14 years. Let's not wait 15. Why did I have to age out? Like I signed myself out of court. The judge was there. He's like, I've seen you grow up. and I was like, you have, Judge Warren. Let's not have that close relationship with a judge and a child in foster care, like in that sense, right? So that's where I am at in life. I am happy to advocate and use my platform to make a difference. One of my social media platform on TikTok. It blew up a couple years ago because when I say blew up, I got a lot of followers because of my daughter's adoption video. And so I had the New York Post and Good Morning America reach out about it, and it was really cool. So I have 36,000 followers on there, and I've been able to speak with people from all over the world about foster care and adoption. It's really amazing just to be able to see the difference on how they do it too. I'm like, we could really learn from some of these places. But it's neat to just make yourself available to help others. And when you're just open, like on a podcast, what you guys are doing, like it's amazing. Like, look what you're doing through the worthdoing.org. That's amazing. Like, I would love to be a part of that. So yep, that's where I am.
That's wonderful.
Genevieve, one of the things you mentioned about doing, being working professionally inside the foster care thing, it's interesting. I've been thinking about that. Our county here has openings that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they didn't have county openings in foster care or adoption units at our county. Anything to do with it, you couldn't get in. They were really well-respected jobs. You couldn't get in. There are so many. I think there's 33 openings right now in our county for that kind of stuff. And I think part of the problem is the perception out there of all of this stuff, and the fact that because they can't get anybody, instead of really doing more of a deep dive into getting people that have lived experience like yourself, they're getting people that might have been in the transportation department at the county, transferring over because of their seniority, and it might have a bachelor's degree or master's degree, but don't have any idea about the foster care system and the issues. And here they have to go to our house and other people's houses and check and do all these kinds of things. And they don't have the experience that you have. And that's why I'm so glad that you're involved in that part of it. These days, I'm kind of down on foster care provider agencies because of what we've seen in our area. Their mission statements, changing children's lives. We haven't seen that. And I'm going by what the kids tell me. The children who age out that are homeless or, like you said, are incarcerated and get in trouble and go down to the other side is phenomenal because there's no transition and these kids are just in their loss. So it tells me their system here where we are isn't working and why it's important.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Somebody like you is involved that knows enough to check into certain things in the home when you're even doing inspections. I mean, we've had people come here. I don't want to get off on a tangent. Even recently, and they said, can you give us an update on your, we have a well water because we're out in the country. And could we get the updated well water test that you had from the provider agency that you were with? They hadn't been here. They hadn't asked us for a well water test, the agency, in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
10 years. And, fortunately, we've been doing our own, we've been getting it done. And, we even have a current one, but that's the kind of stuff that's going on that, somebody like yourself would probably catch some of this stuff where somebody coming from a different department transferring into, let me do child welfare. And
yeah, how hard can it be?
Right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine.
difficult.
I know in my county, they put me on a workforce group, like an advocacy workforce group, basically about this. And the sad part of the story we haven't mentioned is that when there isn't a foster care home available, what happens? And some kids are really in very clinical institutional settings that are pretty locked down. They're not a typical normal childhood experience. And it makes me sad. We have over 2,000 people in New York that are actually in out-of-state placements that also have a disability. And when you start to think about what we're teaching kids, like what that must feel like, nobody wants me. I have to go to this place. That's very heavy. But when they meet someone like you who experienced it and lived through it, I think that makes a defining difference for people. It's like if you're struggling with addiction, you could talk to a million nice people, but if they have not lived that, if they have not experienced that, it's hard to take their advice or guidance or to believe them the same way as someone who's walked through the fire.
Right.
So thank you so much for being so open, because when you share your story, you show people what you went through but where you got to, that it's possible. And when you talked about hope, that resonated with me. That when you were 12, that counselor thought a dose of reality would be the right thing to do, to tell you, listen, you're probably not going to be adopted. And we struggle as counselors. I'm in mental health at the beginning of my career, and I know why she did it. You know what I mean? Like, I know the
Right.
philosophy, the option, the method, the approach, but hearing how it impacted you could change what other people do when they're working with vulnerable kids that are in a trauma situation. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so vulnerable. I mean, you've
Yeah.
talked about really hard things today, and I hope your book does come out, and we'll promote
I
it.
hope so
Like,
too.
yeah, do it, girl. You got it in you. You could do it. And anything that you've talked about that you want referenced in the podcast description, just so our audience knows, we're going to make sure that we include those links so you have them. I believe you're on LinkedIn. People can connect with you there.
Yeah, I'm fairly new on there. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. But yeah, that's a new platform for me.
Well, your
thank you.
TikTok, whatever your
Yeah.
main platforms are,
Awesome.
we'll make sure to share those.
And can I just share that social worker that said that she went to actually my daughter's adoption. She showed up at court, and she went out of her way to come to the adoption party, and she said she apologized because she read that, and I didn't reference her name at all, but she knew, and she private messaged me, and so that was part of healing too. You know, we all say and do things, right? I have to go back and tell my kids all the time, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that or done that. But for her to do that was huge for me. And so I just want to throw that out there because I don't want to make her sound bad at all. Like I love her. So, yeah. So even
as professionals, we need to hear that feedback, or we keep doing the same thing. Like, we have to know if what we're doing is working. I think that's why Steve and I are so into the problem solving piece.
Yeah. And I love that you guys have this podcast because no matter what your views are in life, we all have different views, morals, values. The core of it is we all agree that these kids are worthy and they're worth more than all these foster homes. They're worth more than feeling like they're just a file. They're just a number in a file. And I'm so grateful that you have this to advocate and to, spread the word. So thank you for having me on here.
Genevieve, thanks for coming on. For our audience, we will certainly attach some links for you, Genevieve, and some of the stuff that you're doing to the podcast. We have a website, fcgadvocacy.org. Soon we're going to have another website. It's going to be nationalworthdoing.org. And like Heather said, we're very solution-based. The families out there and the children out there are looking for answers. And yes, this is a podcast talk. And a lot of people do a lot of talking, but we are trying to move the needle, help the children that are out there, which helps the parents out there, which helps all the families out there, and find a better way. So
yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Continue the conversation by joining our Facebook group. If you're a fan of the show, please join our supporters club. Subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your favorite listening app, but most of all, share it with your friends. Just one more click or comment can make a huge difference and help us to continue finding common ground.